Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Team Lead Talks podcast. I'm your host out of Alexandria, Virginia, Andrew Becker. On today's episode, we have David Richter. We recently became friends and colleagues and buddies because we met at a community event down in Nashville, and I had the honor and the privilege of being on your podcast a few weeks ago, and now you're on my podcast. But David is the author of Profit First for Real Estate Investing. If you have not read this book, don't know of this book, go buy it and read it immediately. Welcome, David. How you doing, man?
Thanks, Andrew. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Very cool. So, David, let's jump right in here.
Let's
For
do it.
those of the listeners that might not know who you are, what you do, etc., please give a 20, 30-second overview of how you came to be the David Richter Simple CFO.
Sure. 20 or 30 seconds. So here, real fast.
Well, you can expand if you need to.
My background has been real estate investing. I started that about 12 years ago. And from there, started with a company where we're doing about 5 wholesale deals a month in my early 20s and became a part of that team. We scaled that to about 25 deals a month over the 5 years that I was there, but we were spending about 26 worth of deals out the door. So I very quickly realized it doesn't matter how many deals you do. It matters what you do with your money at the end of the day. And
how much money you keep at the end of the day,
exactly,
maybe?
yeah. And we were very good at real estate and getting deals in the door, but we weren't good at what we were doing with the money, which is what we're really doing. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you're playing the money game, not real estate, but that's a rabbit trail. So as far as my background, like that was one of the things that kicked me off into doing what I'm doing today, which is Simple CFO, a fractional CFO, bookkeeping, like all the financial and making sure other people are keeping more, because we were so bad at it. It like scarred me, because like that, I wish I had a happy ending to that. So like, oh, I read Profit First and turned everything around. No, I didn't read the book for years later.
Did not happen
And
or
exactly.
end well for you.
No. So that's where about a year after I was at that place, I was with another investor, and his books and everything were a mess, just like the same story, only at a deal a month versus 5 deals, 25 deals a month. He was like 25th of what the size that they were, but still had the same issues. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is everywhere. So that's opened my eyes that it was more of a market problem of like everyone has this problem. They're really good. You're really good at getting the deals. You're really good at sales and marketing. Usually the entrepreneur is, but then really bad at keeping it or knowing where the money's going, or really don't care or are allergic to spreadsheets. So it's like, that's what really, that's what opened my eyes to it. And that's what took me down this road. I had a mentor who said I should read the book Profit First, and I read it. I'm like, boom, I want to like build a business around this and like be able to help other people with this. And that's how I got into what I'm doing today. And I could go further into it, but that was my high level journey of like real estate investor to owner of a fractional CFO company, who now we work with over 100 investors on a monthly basis with all their finances and keeping the money.
Yeah, David, this was years and years ago, so well before you and I both met, but I was once what you just described, where we were doing tons of deals, but our profit margins were like 11.1%. So a lot was coming in, but we weren't really keeping a whole lot of it. But for those of you who might be in the same position, reach out to David. He can get you organized and cleaned up. But we were able to, through what I'm sure we'll talk about on today's call, go from about 11.1% to a 36.6% profit margin. And at the end of the day, you guys, profit margin is like that part at the bottom of your P&L that you actually get to keep and distribute and, and live off of or have fun with. So very cool, David. I've been in that similar situation, but let's dive into the book. Yeah. This book is so cool, so awesome. I have read Profit First as well, but how is this different? This is for the real estate side of things. Can you kind of give us a high-level overview of the book as well?
Sure. So Profit First at its core, if you've read the original or if you haven't, it's all about making sure you can keep more of the money. And it gives a system. Like all the other books tell you to keep, pay yourself first, or a portion of all you have is yours to keep. And what I like about Profit First, the system, is that there's an actual there's steps behind it. There's a practical thing that you can implement. There's an actual system versus just, like saying, hey, you should pay yourself first. It's like, great, but how do I do that?
Tactical action items to take. One thing that I love, David, is the discipline that it gives you.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I'm sure you'll get into, but that's where like the emotion comes out of it. And it's just like, I'm not making it based off what Andrew wants to do or David wants to do. we're following the system. So
Right.
didn't mean to cut you off there, but keep going.
Exactly. And that's what I love about the system too, is that it is a system. Like that's where if you are getting deals in the door and you're really good, you probably have a system to get deals in the door. That's where we have to take care of our finances. Most of us just don't have a system at all, whether alone it's good or bad. A lot of us have it. I guess we do have a system. We look at our one big bank account, the black hole bank account, and say, do we have money? Great. We don't have money. What am I going to do? And like, I don't even want to look at my bank account. So a lot of us have a system, but it's broken. It's going to keep us stuck in a rat race where we make money, but we feel broke. And I hear that some version of that multiple different ways. Like, oh, I had money last month and where did it all go? And like, I just started 4 new flips. I thought I would get some more money. It's like when, and now it's all gone. So that's where I hear a lot of that. But as far as the difference between Profit First, the original by Mike McCallance, and mine is that I tailor it to the real estate world. And I won't even tell you my words. This was actually someone I literally just had a call with this person last week that was in the same boat as you were, Andrew. Like he read both books. He read Profit First, the original, and had a real estate business a few years ago, tried to implement it, but he made it too complicated and he couldn't understand how all the moving parts, like, because he had like some rentals and he had some flips and some
Yeah,
wholesales. And he's like, this is too confusing. And he stopped. Then he picked my book up last year and now he's implemented Profit First. And because in the book, I dive into how do I set this up for a rental portfolio? How do I set this up as a fix and flipper or as a wholesaler or someone
exactly.
who's selling the property? So that's one of the big differences, is that it's not just the general concepts, it's applied directly to real estate. I also give real estate investing examples. So like
Okay.
I like last week, again, just it was fortuitous that I had these calls, but we totally resonate. So it's going to have real estate examples in there. It also gives in there, I give a couple key differences in how you set it up and what accounts to set up. And if you're saying, well, what the heck, you haven't even given me the system at its core is the envelope system on steroids. If you've heard of the envelope system in the personal finance world, it's like you're intentional with every dollar. You get your income in during the month, and then you set up envelopes for all the different expenses in your life because you're intentional with every dollar that goes out the door. Well, Profit First is just that with bank accounts and business checking accounts and making sure you name every dollar. So you can actually, there's one of the best accounts out there that we implement is the owner's comp account, like making sure you have an account to pay yourself consistently. So it's not just all OPEX accounts and all your different expenses. It's like there's some accounts that help you keep more too. Another thing that I write in my book, a specific account to open up a bank account is an OPM or investor vault, like that's interchangeable, where there's a specific bank account where if you get other people's money and you're going to use it like for a project or a flip or whatever it might be, then that money goes right into the OPM account and then you pay for that rehab out of there versus what most people have, one big bank account. They get
Yeah.
those lenders funds in and it's like, oh yeah, I've got hundreds of thousands of dollars now. They spend it all on their business versus the project. And now they're stuck with a project that they can't finish because all the
Yeah.
money's gone. So it's
Right.
like, that's a big thing in the real estate space that I've seen over and over again. We were doing it with the 25 deals a month and had to play catch up. And like I've seen it
Yeah.
at one deal a month. So that's why I incorporated that in the book. So that's how the book there is a little different. I also give like how you can attract private money with the Profit First system, because there's lots of people in my sphere that know about Profit First as a private lender. And so they like that you have a
Mhm.
system in place and are good with your own money, because then they know that you'll take care of theirs as well too, and that you have a system. So some of those things that I put in the book that apply directly to the real estate investing world.
Dude, that's what I love about your book, and both books are great. I really like yours, and honestly, man, I wish I had yours like 10 years ago
Yeah, yeah, I
because
hear
of
that a
what
lot
you
too.
just said. It's like the general understanding of a profit first model makes sense. There's a discipline, there's a system for it, but you take it kind of like beyond mastery for like certain unique scenarios like flipping,
That are
like
for
getting
real
other
estate.
people's
Yeah,
money. So that's
yep,
awesome. But let's kind of back up a little bit
yeah. Let's do it.
if we may. Give us like the system at its very foundation, at
Yeah.
its core. Walk us through like the mentality, why someone who might have that giant bank account now that want to rip their hair off out because they don't know where anything is coming in from or going to. But like walk us through the general,
Yeah.
like here's what this gets you before you get into the advanced stuff.
So, at the core level, why did you get into real estate? Like, why did you become an entrepreneur? And everyone has some version of financial freedom, like, is their answer. So, whatever that means to them, like, they want to go on trips, they want to do the things, they don't want a boss anymore telling them, they like want to escape the pain of a W 2. Like, that's all why we jump into it. Okay, well, let's just take our example of we were doing 25 deals a month, which should be more than enough volume and million, like multiple seven figures of income and revenue, but we were not escaping the rat race. We were not facing financial freedom. Like we never attained that because just as much was coming out, coming in was going out. So this is why we set this up, and this is why it's so important. Because I don't know if you're listening to this and you have if you've ever played the game by Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. He also created the game Cash Flow 101. This is such a great teaching tool of what I'm about to tell you. Where in the middle, in the middle of the game, like in the middle of the actual board, is a little wheel with a bunch of little spaces, and you literally go around those spaces trying to land on the green colored spaces that say big, big or small deal, and you try to get enough deal flow and enough passive income from the game in order to get to a fun track that he has on that game board, and that pictures financial freedom. And some people it takes 10 minutes, no, probably more like 30 minutes to get out. Some people it takes 3 hours to get out. Some people never get out of the rat race in the game. And it's because there are some practical principles of money that are taught to be able to escape the rat race that usually we just don't understand either as entrepreneurs or never have been taught very simply. And
Right.
that's where it's like Profit First steps in to say, here's how you build that bridge from that rat race wheel to the financial freedom. Like if you can get the deals, if you can land on the big or small deals and get the deal flow in, we need to now have a system that gets us out of the rat race and onto that financial freedom fun track. And that's really what Profit First is about. Because honestly, if I tell you the mindset behind Profit First, it's like we've heard it before. If you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad, he says pay yourself first. If you've read The Richest Man in Babylon, it says in there a portion of all you have is yours to keep. Like these are the same principles that should help you build the bridge to financial freedom. But Profit First, like I said, takes it that step further to put an actual system in place because execution, because it gives a formula. Like real estate investors, we love our formulas, right? So like the Profit First formula is sales minus profit equals expenses, meaning I make a sale, I take my profit first. There's where the concept comes from. And then the expenses are the last thing, where we have to make sure we're paying them, but we have to make sure we're a profitable business first, because the typical way is sales minus expenses equals profit. That's how most people set up their business on the hope and pray plan. They make a sale, they pay everyone else and their mother, and they hope and pray that there's some profit left over someday or somewhere. That's where it's going to keep you stuck. If you stay there, that's where we were doing all those deals. That's where that other guy was doing one deal a month. It's like we were just going around in that rat race. We could never build that bridge because we didn't have a system. We didn't make that formula a reality where we put profit first. And that's where Profit First, like I said before and mentioned, is the envelope system. That's the practical steps behind it. And in the system, there's 5 fundamental bank accounts to open up. The first 3 are to help you keep more. I call them the golden trio because if you could see me, I don't know if this is going live in video or whatnot, but if you see me, I look like I love Harry Potter and Star Wars. And it's like, of course I do. I mean, I love those big epic sagas. But, those big saga movies that we love and that is usually universally loved has 3 main heroes. It's like they're all going on their hero's journey, but those 3 main heroes make the story fun, and usually good is winning or good wins in the end. Well, I want you to have 3 heroes in your business because usually we only have the villain. Usually we only have an OPEX account. Usually we're just worried about the money that's going out and where's it going out and how much and do I have any to scrounge around together to start a new marketing campaign. So instead of feeling like that, I want you to have some accounts that actually help you keep more. And the first 3 are a profit bank account, an owner's comp or owner's compensation bank account to pay yourself, and then the tax account, the owner's tax, because I want you to have a peace of mind account. So when tax time comes, you've been saving a little bit in there, so you don't have to be like, oh my gosh, where's that tax money coming from?
I think that was my favorite account that we ever had.
Which is so funny. That's because it's like, it's the least sexy one. And it's like, it's a tax account. I have to stare at these taxes the whole year and like they're being it. But then I hear things like that all the time, Andrew, like from our people, like, okay, I was at an event last month and we were working with a couple that was there and we've been working with them for about 6 months. They walked up to me and said, you know what? It was a pain in the butt setting up those accounts at the beginning, those 5 fundamental accounts. And like they had rentals, so they wanted to do it for their rentals and their flips. So they set up like 10 accounts and they were like, oh man, the setup was stupid. But you know what? I just got a tax bill last week and she said, we had saved up like $80,000 in the tax account because the year before it was like a 95 or something tax bill, but they bought some rentals this year And she said that it was only 16,000 that they owed. And she said it was 100% worth just opening up a few bank accounts,
Awesome.
doing that up front. And then I have this extra money, which for them, that felt like a little piece of that financial freedom fun track right there. Like I could see it in their eyes. They were just like, I am so glad I had this account. And we had extra because we had oversaved because of the year before, because we thought it might be around the same,
Right.
dollar amount. And then they were like, we have like 60,000 plus extra in this account that we get to use for whatever we want. So it's like, that's what I've heard for that. The profit account, like having that extra account, making sure that you actually have, and that account is specifically for the owner to do whatever the heck they want with on a quarterly basis, whether it's paying down debt. If you've got some debt and you want to wipe it out, like use that profit account. If you don't have debt, use it for whatever you want, trips, vacations, feel financial freedom. Honestly, though, Andrew, the account that I get the most feedback and is my favorite account to implement with people is the owner's comp. Usually people aren't paying themselves. Or if they are, it's not consistent. It's not enough. They're like barely scraping by. They feel bad. They feel guilty about taking money out. It's like, here's an account dedicated for you, the owner, and
Hmm.
you get to start taking it out consistently. Like, and that's usually the first account we have people set up. So those are the first three. The other two are very just systems based. There's income and OPEX. OPEX you already had. It's all the outflows, but income I want to see. I want to separate out what comes in from what goes out and what I get to keep, the golden trio. So those are the fundamental accounts. Real estate, I add the OPM account. So you do get one extra account as a real estate investor, but it's one of those, if you're doing flips and you don't want to be pulling your hair out and running around like your hair's on fire all the time, like, then set up the OPM account so that way you can see what's my money, which is the fundamental account. Then the OPM account is more for like, what are the projects and how much money do I have in order to finish the project. So I know that was a long overview, but this is like, that was the mindset and the system all rolled into one big
No, man, that was awesome. And I will attest to that. At one point before we had any type of system set up, I remember our accountant at the end of the year saying, yo, like 60 grand. We were like, holy moly, like, how much do
right.
we have in our one account? And then it was either like we could barely cover it or we had to like personally cover it.
Yeah.
And then that sucked. And then we were like, well, now we don't have enough money to do marketing. But when you
Mm,
pre-allocate, and then what happened to your clients, we always had overages and we'd be like Christmas bonus,
right.
that kind of
Yep.
thing. Like, but it's such a different mindset. And I even do this, I kind of take it a step further. I'll be like, I want to do a new like PPC campaign, right?
Yeah.
And I'll start to put like $2,000 or whatever percentage towards that. So it's pre-bought essentially. So we don't have to worry. So I don't know if if you or anyone else that you ever work with do that kind of thing. But my favorite thing, honestly, man, is when the check clears and goes into your income account. I
Yeah.
like sitting down being like, all right, we just got, 50K, like 25K here. And I love, like, my favorite part is like moving it. It's
Yeah.
just
Oh
fun
yeah.
to see, like, I don't know.
You
I'm
feel in
dorky that
control.
way.
Well, no, it's not even dorkiness. It honestly, it satisfies a fundamental human need. We want to control. And
Yeah.
usually the money controls us in our life. And it's like, especially in business, especially if you, so many calls I get on and people are like, I got into business, but like, and I got into real estate, but I didn't know about like how much I would need to know about the money side. And they're like, I don't want to know about all this stuff. They're just like, can you help? And I'm like, I totally get that. That's why I love Profit First, because like someone like, like us, we are entrepreneurs. I love that too. Like I still do the transfers because I just like seeing, okay, how much do we have in these accounts?
I love,
And then
yeah,
for me, it's like, are there any yellow flags? Oh, wait, are there any green flags? Like, do we have extra money somewhere where it's like, okay,
right.
do we want to start a new campaign or do something? So for me, it's like, it's that yellow, red flag, green flag type check. Plus, it's the what you just mentioned. You are in control of your money. You got money in, and instead of it going into one account and then it all just gets jumbled up, and then you get a surprise bill later, you're
Yeah.
like, ah, shoot, where did all that money go? And that's when people wake up and say, I make money but feel broke. Like, where did it all go? I'm doing all these deals, but I don't have any money to show for it. It's like, now all you need to do is have a system and then sit down like Andrew does and like just be like, okay, here's where the money's going, and I'm going to be intentional with these dollars, so that way you can see where it goes. And then if you're like us, Andrew, like you and I, like we've been doing it for years. So now we're in the rhythms and we know right away. are, you know, like you can already tell, like, is something off? Did we get less income in? Did we get less, or did we get more revenue in? And we have a little bit of buffer here so we can start something new. It's like you can even start to feel the opposite of what you felt before profit first. Like before profit first, it's chaos and disorder. And then
Yeah.
after profit first, it's more like, I have a heartbeat on the business and I know if something changes a lot sooner, like especially when it comes to cash. Because like you can have a meeting with an accountant and they tell you, here's your profit and loss, here's your balance sheet. It's like, okay, how much money do I have though? You know, it's like that's the entrepreneur's credo. So it's like then you get to have that power in your hands versus it just being left up to the whims of that one big bank account.
Yeah, and it's like the practicing it as you preach
Yes.
it kind
Yeah.
of thing too. That really comes in handy where you do. I love how I've never really described it as like being in control of your money, but you really are in control of your money.
Right.
It's kind of just like shooting from the hip before. We've talked about this, in prior conversations that you and I have had of like this is what it takes as an entrepreneur to run your business like an actual business.
Mhm.
It's not just the marketing or the sales or the converting, but like being stewards of like the dollars and the revenue coming in to make sure that you don't blow it all before you're doing 25 deals
Yeah.
and not keeping any of it.
Exactly. There's another good book that really addresses it, which is funny because it's by Mike Mikowitz, who wrote Profit First. He wrote one called Fix This Next. Because what you said, Andrew, is so true, but it's also the most important thing. Sales and marketing are still number one. Like, you have to have revenue coming in, you have to have deals coming in. So, like, if you're not good at that part, like, that's why you're listening probably to Andrew and like being a part of his world because he can help you get to where you want to go on that side. But then in that book, the Fix This Next book, he gives like a little hierarchy of business needs, like kind of in tandem to Maslow's hierarchy of personal needs. This is the business hierarchy of needs in a pyramid. And the first three steps are sales, profit, and order. Like, I need to make sales, I need to build profit in, and then I need to reinvest from my profit and reserves, not from my revenue, but from the profit back into the order of the business, like people and processes. But a lot of people invest their sales right into people and processes. Case in point, with what we were doing, we were really good at hiring and bringing more on and bringing more overhead in. And then
Yeah.
we just skipped the profit step. So we had a lot of order and we could do a lot of deals, but we had no profit at the end of the day. So, like, why even have a business like that just goes from sales to order? And it's like, okay, we have to make the sales, we have to build the profit in, and that's where the profit first system, because we fall to the level of our system. So if you have a system to catch the money, then we can at least fall to the level of that system. Even if you're not feeling great, if you're not doing, it's like, okay, can we put this on autopilot as much as possible? It's like if we have a system, then it just doesn't get set by the wayside. So it's sales, then it's profit, then it's order. So that's how I like thinking of the business. It's like if you're suffering in sales, then we have to focus on that, and that's number one priority. If you've got some sales, have you built a profit step in? If you have, then from the reserves we can grow the business how big we want to. And Andrew, that's probably the biggest thing. Probably the biggest payoff I get as the owner of Simple CFO is when someone comes to me and says, I have the choice either to stay small and have this like 30 plus percentage profit percentage, or do I want to reinvest, but from profit and grow, but be able to grow and still have the profit? We're just going to
Yeah.
be like taking 10% of that back in the business. And now we can grow, but we still have 20%, like to be able to, as a bottom line, but we want to invest in our growth. And like, to me, that is it is so fulfilling, because it's like now someone has the choice, where before they were probably sucking for air just to survive in their business. And now they
Yeah.
get to be like, well, and I've had people do both. I've had people that stayed small. There's one guy that I even write about in the book, Joey English, where he stayed smaller and he was able to have more profit, and he was able to give like a huge portion to charity because that's what he wanted to do, and be able to give those things like he wanted to. And then I've had people who are like, hey, I want to scale. And then they've scaled, but then they're scaling incrementally and in a healthy manner. And one guy that we worked with just this last year, he had his first $1 million month. He made $1 million and his bottom line was about 35%. So he's like, this was like a great year for him, like
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, but this was 1 month of his. But he built profit first over the last couple years, and then said at one point, do I want to scale? And he did. And then he's like doing $1 million months top line with a huge bottom line. And then he took all of his team out on this, like, I think they went on a cruise last year. Like, they did something crazy big together because he's wanted to reinvest in his team. So it's like, these are the types of options you get as you get to scale if you have these types of things in place.
Yeah, man. Well said. That's kind of like being a business owner. You're trying to keep your head while treading water above
Right.
the water before you drown. And there's a system out there that exists where that doesn't have to be the case.
Exactly.
And it's great. I love this kind of stuff, dude. I'm like a nerd about this kind of stuff. I
Me
actually do
too.
it for my personal finances too,
Awesome.
man.
I love hearing that.
I have like a vacation fund, house fund,
Yeah.
emergency fund, that kind of thing. So
Yep. Us too.
awesome book, dude. Awesome system. So for David, for
Yeah.
those listening that are kind of feeling a little bit overwhelmed, especially in the finance section, how does somebody find you? How does someone get in touch with you? How can they
Yeah.
work with
So it's real simple. SimpleCFO.com. So Simple CFO, like Chief Financial Officer. So CFO, SimpleCFO.com. There you can get several things. I think there's even a page where you can download the book. If not, try SimpleCFO.com/gift. I think that's still active, but you can get everything at SimpleCFO.com. You can reach out to us. We're a team that does many things. So whether you just need the bookkeeping or if you need more of like financial coaching slash advising, like we do more of like the business implementation of Profit First, a dashboard, and like as more of a financial leader. That's what a CFO is. So we just do it on a part-time basis because there's no way if you're under like 10 million if that you need a full-time CFO yet. So that's what we do. So simplecfo.com is how you get a hold of us.
Miracle? Reach out to David. Awesome person, awesome human being. I'm glad to be able to call you my friend. Glad that we got to connect. Let me ask you one more question before we
Yeah.
depart today, David. So, going into the next year, what's one thing that you are looking forward to implementing in your own business, since you're a business owner yourself, that you're excited about?
I'm super excited because we have such a great CFO team now. We are actually going to be showcasing them and like the clients that they work with. So we're adding some sections to our podcast where I'm not just the talking head. So like we're going to have our CFO team lead and my business partner Christina start to interview our CFOs and just so people can hear real stories like the ones that I was talking about today. We have lots of those stories and they just don't get out there. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited about that because I've been the talking head for so long. It's like I'm so glad that other people are jumping in. And now we get to share more of like what's happening behind the scenes. So that's one of the big things that I'm excited about that we're implementing here early this year.
Very cool, dude. And you mentioned, and I knew about it, but I didn't really talk about it in detail. You have your own podcast. I was a guest
Yeah,
on it a
yeah.
few weeks ago. Tell us about the podcast, how they can listen to it.
Yeah, so Profit First REI podcast. So it's the Profit First for Real Estate Investing podcast. Honestly, it's everywhere, like Apple and Spotify, like anywhere you find the podcast. But the whole content on there, which we just changed the content this year and we're rolling these out. I do a solo episode, kind of more diving into Profit First and just the overview. And like if you're needing any refreshers or needing to know just the basics, then we're doing an interview CFO about, like another CFO of like, okay, how's this work behind the scenes? Then I interview people like Andrew, like so that way I can showcase you. So it's because I want people not just to keep the money, but be able to learn how to make it as well. So I bring a lot of people on that if you're having trouble making money, like then I interview people like you or others from our network to be able to help them make it as well.
So we will provide all your contact information in the description of this episode. But it was an honor and a pleasure having you on today. Hopefully, people will take us up on our offer and will reach out to you so they can have their finances in order. David, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, take care.